Everyone, we're about to start the board meeting today. We have, let's see, call to order, Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Redona, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I'm sorry, this meeting is called to order. Ms. Redona?
Trustees present. Trustees present this evening are Mr. Romero, Mr. Alvarado, Trustee Calderon Jr. We have a quorum.
All right, I apologize for getting a little ahead of myself. I'm trying to get this going today. Public comments, closed session items only. And we have one oral communication, Ms. Sonia Redona.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
My name is Sonia Redona. I'm here on behalf of CSCA. On the item of reassignment, we have two accounting assistant, that are being reassigned. One works here in accounts payable, one works at the high school. They're both the same classifications. The positions their job duties are totally different. They were not given an option. They said, we're going to do a reassignment, and I would like to know what was the reason behind it. According to what they told me, was cross-training. Here at the Calexico Unified School District, I've been here for more than 25 years. I never seen anybody cross-train. These people have been here for 18 and 19 years. And right now, they're under a lot of stress. They do not want to leave the positions they have right now. I thought we were all family. They're working beautiful. They're doing an excellent job. I want to know who made a recommendation and the reason why. Because the school district does not do any cross-training. So I would like for you to stop this assignment, and it's a negotiable item too. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will now be going into closed session to consider the matter listed on the agenda for tonight's meeting in Section D. As for the anticipated litigation, one matter involves allegation of retaliation by a school official. The other matter remains confidential as permitted by the Brown Act within Government Code Section 54956.9, Subdivision E1. Thank you. We're now going into closed session. Resuming to open session from closed session. Announcements for closed sessions. The only announcement I have is Mr. Trustee Cito Calderon reported to the closed session at 05 hours. Okay, we'll go on. To G, public hearings for the proposed adoption of a school facility needs analyst and the establishment of the alternative sections 65995.5 and 65995.7 facilities fees. And that is Ms. Meyer. Okay, we'll skip. All right, well, H is, they canceled, so. Did they open the public hearing? Okay.
Any comments on that?
Okay, well, what is it? Okay. Aye. Comments from the public. The board will now take any and all comments from the public related to an item on the agenda or any other item of district business that is not on the agenda. Do we have any?
Calderon, just a quick question. On that public hearing, did we open it?
Yeah.
Comment, and then did we close it?
Yeah, like you need to open
Yeah.
the public hearing,
Okay.
and then you need to close it.
Okay. Correction, we opened G1 and now there's no
Any comments?
comments?
No comments?
No? Do we have any?
6:24,
None for that.
then we close it.
Then we'll close it.
6:25.
H, presentation, Calexico High School, first robotic team demo. They had to reschedule. The robot had the flu, so they'll come back next board meeting. We go on to I, comments from the public. The board will take any and all comments from the public related to an item on the agenda or any other item of district business that is not on the agenda. We have two for oral communication. We have Manuel Yanez. If you can step up.
Good evening. My name is Manuel Yanez. Good evening, board members, members of the public. I just had a small comment, and it's related to the incident that just passed a few days ago in the highway in the high school. I don't usually come here to talk in front of you, but I had a child, and I'm kind of worried with my child and all the other members of the community. We must do something, and you are the ones that can make those improvements. We need to have some kind of a security or some kind of enforcement to to be safe, our kids to keep it safe from these incidents. We don't want to be in the news as other cities. We would like to be in the news, but in other ways, like 4 or 5 kids were admitted to Harvard or jail, any other thing, but not in this kind of incidents. We need to take in consideration that it didn't happen anything. We were really lucky, and I wish you guys can take a few safeguards in the future. We got more security in our schools, especially with the small kids. They don't know, and especially my kid. My kid has a few problems with his behavior, and I would like my kids and all the other kids to be safe. And I wish you guys can take this in your future agenda or in this agenda if you already have it, and make some kind of improvements on the security of the schools. I have seen a few improvements, especially in the Cesar Chavez school. That I have seen that the fathers and the dads, they don't go inside. That's really good. But now we need to see more improvements on those. I wish you can take that in consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Dr. Assi.
Good evening, honorable board members, audience. Just a few remarks. I want to give you an update about our safety in this city. I have stressed back 15 years ago to the board here, previous board, that we need to have a safe and secure campuses at all schools, especially in the high school. Elementary school maybe not, but the fact that having an X-ray machine like in Chicago and other school in the States, they do have that X-ray machine that makes sure there is no guns in the school, there is no drugs, that there is no weapons, there is no knives or any of that. And we've been taking it lightly. Safety is education, is not the opposite. There's no education if there is no safety. And you all educated people, and I think you can make that decision for this city. I want to give you an update. Today I had a meeting with the DA about my son case when he came to the football about 2.5 years. And you know what? Here we have a very lovely city, but with corrupted people. They destroyed the evidence in my son case to prosecute these criminals. I mean, it tells you how much we are safe here. If the police destroy the evidence, so you have no case. These guys walks free. While I'm happy, my son has a brain damage, hearing damage, and grateful to what they did. But it can happen to any kids in this city if these people continue in this way. So it tells us the safety doesn't exist in the city because we have corrupted official as well as corrupted police. So we have to create this environment for our kids. If I lose my son and he lose his son and everybody loses his son, so what is this gonna be here? The other issue we've been talking, we need to annex 100 acres plus for a new high school. We pass a bond, we need to work hard, we need to create it. I am gonna be the president of the mental health, California Mental Health coming in June. You know what, there's 58 counties, and we work with 58 counties on the mental health issues. I urge you guys to look seriously into this, creating a safe zone in this city because we are border. We have overflow of crime from over. Sometimes I feel we are in Mexico. We're not in Calexico, we're not in California because it works in the same fashion. This compadre system is never gonna go away. The mafia type of things control, the corruption, the favoritism, it will not go away, regardless what the issue. But we need to look seriously into this, and you are all wise to look in really and put it seriously. Number one priority is safety for the kids and for the sake of the community, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mr. Ben Horton. You want to wait until? Okay, thank you. We will move on to J, consent agenda. All items appearing will be acted upon by one motion without discussion unless item is pulled for separate consideration and action.
So moved. I second.
Moved by Romero, second by Calderon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, Alvarado, and Calderon Jr. We move on to K, informational items. K1, superintendent report. Mr. Gonzalez.
So, Ms. Andres has the great honor of being is it on?
Yeah.
There you go.
Hello? Okay, now it's on. Thank you. So, Ms. Ambrose has the great honor of being the commencement speaker for
Nice
San
job.
Diego State University, the Ivy campus. They're having their ceremony graduation today, so it's a great pleasure to let you know that she is representing us and doing her commencement speech tonight. And another, just like to wish the teachers a very happy Teachers Day this week. Specifically yesterday. Also, we have a happy classified week coming up, May 21st through the 27th. And also, who helps us tremendously at all the school sites is Happy Administrative Professionals Day, which took place on April 26th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Association comments, ACT?
Is this on? Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, members of the board. There are a couple of things that I'd like to talk about tonight. First, I'd like to thank the district for letting ACT use one of its campuses to host a Day of Action event. Hundreds of teachers, parents, and students from all over the valley joined together to voice our objection to the attack on immigrant rights that Donald Trump has made and to the building of the border wall here in Calexico. We walked from Jefferson Elementary down to the border fence that we already have, where we linked arms together and spread a message of unity that said that though we may be two countries, we are truly one community. That we don't need a wall at the border to separate us from the people we care about. It was a great success that made a statement to our parents and to our students that their teachers will stand with them against looming threats to the city, the valley, and the larger community that we have built together. Regarding the threat to the high school, I am happy to say that today teachers were notified that there's a crisis team available to them. ACT requested this last Friday, and today teachers found out. It's good that it's available. There are issues at the high school with security. I teach at that campus now, and every morning that I arrive, because I get there very early, there's free flow through the teacher parking lot gate from where teachers park their cars to the campus, because the gate door is propped open so that parents can drop off their band students. And I know that it's convenient to do that for parents, but there's nobody watching that gate, and anybody could walk in there. It's a gate that when it closes, it can lock, and teachers should all have keys to it. And personally, I would recommend, and this recommendation was also made last Friday, that that gate is kept closed or at least monitored at all times. Also last Friday, we entered a negotiations meeting with the district. It was excellent that this time we were able to make progress together. That this time we were able to negotiate in good faith with one another and work toward an agreement. This was a great step. But ACT once again must state the sad fact that in Calexico you pay your teachers the least. In a district that receives more LCFF funding than Brawley, Imperial, and El Centro, and this is funding that is relative to the needs of our students. It's not funding that we get more of because we're a bigger district. That's part of it. But the other part is that we have students with more needs. That in a district that receives more LCFF funding than the other districts I've been comparing us to, we cannot compete with those districts that are getting less than we are from the state per pupil. That when the state changed the way we were funded in order to give the previously disadvantaged students better means to success, we are still giving Calexico's kids the cheapest shot at getting the best teachers. Tonight, you're on track to approve a bid for over $1 million for field lighting. At the same time, you're being presented with a declaration of need for fully qualified educators because we can't find and hire teachers with the appropriate credentials to teach students who are English learners. The whole point of LCFF is to use your funds to meet the requirements of our students with the most needs. I don't think light bulbs and metal poles are going to teach our newcomers English. Lighting for sports is important, but is it as important as qualified teachers in the classroom? When I have been up here talking about priorities, this is exactly what I was talking about. Our students' futures are on the line here. This is not a money issue, it is a moral issue. The quality of education we are going to be able to offer the kids of Calexico will be a direct result of the value the district places on its teachers. Your teachers know that it is in everyone's interest to make our district more competitive in this race to hire teachers when we are at a shortage, and we know that by doing so, we will provide our students with the greatest chance at the best possible future. Last Friday, we took a step toward this, but we must keep going. ACT looks forward to meeting with the district again soon as possible, to continue the progress we have finally started together. Please keep in mind, we are not your opponents in this. We are your teachers. We are your advocates for making this district the most desirable place for our educators and for our students. Thank you.
Mr. Taylor. CSCA?
Good evening, board members, audience. I have two items. The first one is safety. I met with my negotiators, and they're very concerned the campus security. They're not safe at campus. There's not enough campus security to patrol the area. And this issue's been going on for years. You only hire part-time, 3 hours here, 3 hours there. And also, they were not informed what happened. They heard the rumors from outside. I believe it took 2 to 3 days for the principal to gather them together and know what's going on. They should be the first ones to know what's going on. They're now aware, they're not even safe anymore. They feel they're not safe there. They're there to protect the students, but how about their safety? Wednesday, I drove by the high school to go pick up some food for the negotiating team. It was 11:30. The parking lot of the student was wide open. Why was it wide open? It wasn't lunchtime. Nobody was there. You should have one entrance to the high school. Down over here by the tennis court, I drop my granddaughter off in the mornings there. There's an entrance there. Like the campus security says, there's entrance all over campus. There's not enough of us to secure the campus. And they're worried about their safety also. The other issue is, I want to tell a little bit about those two reassignments, because I want to tell you what they do. One of them, accounts payable here, process all accounts payable projects at our facilities. She's been here for 19 years. She knows her job very well. You want to bring somebody else that doesn't know how to process those account payable payments? We got a lot of construction coming in. And me as a taxpayer, we want our money to be spent correctly. And you will have a lot of facilities projects coming. The other employee that wants to be, she's in charge at the general athletic attendance administration council discipline plan local effort budgets at the high school. She's in charge of ordering all the teacher supplies for the beginning of the school year. She ordered all necessary items to run the school, such as postage, paper, copy, etc. Keep records of loan programs, cheerleader and drill, color guard, cap and gowns. Make sure students sign in at the beginning of the school year and return the items. Order cap and gowns at the end of the school year. And they wanted to do this transfer in May, when in June we got our graduation. We can't afford this change. She also does the receive payments from students and parents on a daily basis, prepare deposits for the and brings it for the administrators to take to the bank, keep record of all ASB clubs, bank statements once a month, prepare and report to Ms. Williams, to McGillen and Ms. Petrula. Organize sports banquets, prepare programs, order catering, order pins, patch, etc. Process purchase orders for all the clubs. That's totally different. And you want to switch these two people around? Think about it before, because the new one will not know what the experienced already knows. So I urge you, please leave them as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Redona. We go on to K3, Insurance Committee. No?
So, hello? Okay, perfect. All right, so we had our insurance committee meeting on May the 9th, and we had a great representation from ACT and CSCA as well. One of the highlights that we talked about was the wellness program. And so at one of the board meetings, we did express that we do have some money about $50,000 that we can spend towards a wellness program. Well, there was a survey that was done with the staff here, Calexico Unified School District, and we did get up to 194 responses, and so that's great. We narrowed it down to 3 of the areas that staff would like to see wellness activities on, areas of interest. 67% that responded would like to see on-site fitness class. So that was pretty cool. The second one with 62%, they'd like to see on-site nutrition class being offered. And the third one, at 51%, they'd like for biometric screenings to be offered. So this is a great information, because from that survey now that we can do is focus on what activities we're going to do when it comes to our wellness. And so we are looking at putting our wellness committee together. The survey, we did have a lot of interest of staff that wants to be part of the wellness committee, which was great to see. So we'll be reaching out to them. Ms. Dreesen, who is our ACT rep, she has, I guess, volunteered the art team to come up with a logo. So we're trying to create a logo, and that will be like our fitness logo, part of the wellness program for the district. We do have open enrollment coming up from May 15th to May 26th. This is the first time that we're crossing over to all online. So anybody that needs any particular changes, updates when it comes to their benefits, that would be the time. But we are transitioning. Those will all be online now. And also we have a benefits fair that is scheduled for Tuesday, May 23rd from 1 to 5 p.m. here in the boardroom. And our next insurance committee meeting is scheduled for May 31st. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. ROP Committee?
Nothing
Or
to report.
representative?
We have our next scheduled meeting on the 18th of May.
Thank you, Trustee Alvarado. LCAP Committee?
Good evening. Last week, May 4th, we had a presentation to our parents and community on a draft of the goals and actions that, as a team, we met with the core committee, and we're continuing to work on the actual template, typing all the goals onto the template, doing the annual update, looking at the expenses, and so that will be coming in until June for the public hearing. What I want to share with you today is just a brief LCAP update. I left a form on your desk, and there's copies for our audience. And so if we go to page 4, most of our actions, we continue to work with them. We continue to hold meetings, trainings, purchase supplies. In our goal 1, there is one action that we haven't touched, and that is action number 3, which is to establish a social science textbook adoption committee. As of last week, we still don't have an adoption list for social studies. I did reach out to ICOE, and they did inform me that a list will possibly come out until December of 2017 or January of 2018. So this will be an action that we will continue to have and move it to the next year's LCAP, and in addition includes the science, although they are telling me that perhaps the science will also be moved a year later, because this was supposed to be social science year, and then next year was supposed to be science. So that's one action that we didn't touch this year, but we will continue to include. On page 5, you'll see another part that is highlighted, which is action number 7. And I had mentioned it before, but this is the purchasing the mobile device management system. Action 6 was a data management system. And the previous program we were using was called Data Director. And so we adopted the School City, which is a new program, but the cost and the funding for that program was much more than we had expected. So as a team, we agreed to use the funds from the mobile device management system to pay for the data management system, and we'll carry this action for next year. For the rest of the actions, we've just been adding information, additional trainings that we've held. For example, even for the PSAT and AP test, students are taking AP tests. We're waiting for the invoice for the AP test for some of these actions. Others, for example, positions, they're still being funded. We're still waiting until the end of June to continue paying the salaries. On page 7, towards the bottom, you see the goal 4 with pupil engagement for most of these activities. We've continued to work with them. For example, on this one, the vehicles that we said we're going to purchase, we already purchased the FFA truck, which was part of this action. Engagement activities, we continue to purchase incentives for students. We continue with our Saturday schools. We continue with our tutoring. So everything's still moving forward. Goal 5 with the parent involvement. Throughout the months, we've been meeting with parents. I believe they have their graduation. There's Parent Institute graduation towards the end of May, beginning of June. And then some of the items like the kiosk, we've already ordered the monitors, scanners, the parent station. So everything's been ordered. We do have a deadline of May 15, which is Monday, to submit all requisitions for any of the orders that are pending. So if we go towards the very end, page 12, this was the budget reports that I generated last week. Well, it was actually Phyllis from Projects. She helped me with the budgets. So we worked on it last week. Just a couple of days ago, we were going back and reviewing some of them, and some of these have drastically gone down because we continue to purchase. So there's very few items that we have not encumbered, like I mentioned. So we're hoping that by the end of June 30th, a lot of the expenses that we have still pending will be encumbered. Any questions?
Trustees, any questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Measure J, Citizens Oversight Committee.
Good evening, trustees. This is just kind of the final report for the Measure J Citizens Oversight Committee. That committee has completed. We have since spent all of the Measure J funds, and we had our final meeting with the Measure J, I believe, on April the 17th, and we have requested that all of the members of that Citizens Oversight Committee complete their final 700 form, which is to remove them off of the committee. So we're still waiting on a few, but this committee is completed because all of the funds have been spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Randall. Mr. Benhord, would you? Okay, all right.
So Measure V committee, so we are moving strong. We've had at least 9 meetings, but we've very great participation from our Citizens Oversight Committee. Again, we're moving strong. There is a resolution that's on the agenda that the Measure V committee put together to provide the board with some direction or with some just hopes for the Measure J, the Measure V funding. So that's coming on the agenda. But other than that, we are in compliance. We are meeting, and we had our last meeting, I believe it was on April the 18th, the committee did. And that produced the resolution, which is on the agenda for consideration today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Randall. K4, board reports. We'll start with Mr. Romero.
None.
None? Mr. Trustee Calderon.
Real quick, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for being late today. I got held back at work. Just a quick comment regarding our safety measures. I was in constant communication with Maria throughout the weekend and this week. I've been at the high school a couple of times, not to test or put anybody to question anybody, but I wanted to see for myself what's going on. Like I said, I've been talking to Maria, to our superintendent, regarding these issues. And of course, I only voice my concerns and my wants and my needs, not the rest of the board. But I have asked Maria, our superintendent, for more security. Okay, I rather be overprotective. Okay, than have to think later that we could have done something where we didn't do it. Okay, so I rather do that. I rather uh, um, spend now in more services or security guards or other measures that will protect our students and our staff as well. And because I think this board needs to realize that we cannot have a school if students don't want to come to school, if staff doesn't want to come to school. So I have asked Maria to come up with a plan to have more security or to better our security measurements that we have in place right now. So other than that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Calderon. Trustee Castillo?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Again, I think this time of year is very busy for our schools, for our district. A lot of things happening as we're getting close to the school year. You know, there's been the Tech de Mayo was that last weekend, celebration of excellence. You know, the district's been involved in a number of activities. In the last remaining 5 weeks, you know, there's a lot happening as well with our end of the year assemblies, promotions, graduations, banquets, concerts, whatever. There's a number of things. So it takes a lot of work to prepare for our students and our program schools for these. So again, I want to recognize that. And also maybe a request is maybe the end of year list of events happening at the school sites. You know, administrators can submit that for the board so we can see at a glance what's coming up and maybe some things that we can attend as well. Again, want to recognize California Day of the Teacher, Wednesday, and all the hard work that our certificated staff do across the district in all respects. Classified CSEA week's coming up as well for their dedication to our students and supporting our schools, making them run and operate every day. So, you know, we couldn't do it without the people we have in our district. You know, there's been some talk about school safety and the incidents this week, and I know that's a priority for many of us, all of us. And a time for us to, I think, reflect, but also plan and be proactive. I want to recognize, I think, a number of folks, city, police department for their involvement, county support, a number of departments. I think also recognizing our district administration for getting involved and being proactive. And again, phone calls late at night, at midnight, you know, it was very ongoing. Also recognizing our staff, teachers and staff at school sites with their eyes and ears on the ground that are sharing and reporting what's happening, what the kids are sharing, because that helps. And of course the students for communicating what's happening on the ground at school sites, after school, online. You know, it takes all of us as a community to make sure we don't have these events that we know could happen. We don't want that here in Calexico. We don't want it in news. But again, it's a time for us to, again, be proactive, maybe as a district, look at what initiatives, activities, or committees we can have to start planning or looking at what we can do, what else we can do. We've got our school safety plans. I know we're revisiting those. We'll look at those again. But I think there's, as we've heard, a lot of suggestions, much more we can do, whether it be additional security equipment for monitoring. I heard maybe even almost like a closed campus or closed gates. There's a lot of things we can visit, but we need a lot of input, so that might be something as a board and as a community we can begin addressing so we can prevent or be proactive. So events like this don't happen, at least in our town. You know, they're happening everywhere, we know that. But let's do what we can to make sure it doesn't happen here. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Castillo. Trustee Alvarado?
I just want to thank everybody that came out and talked today. Dr. Asiad, Manuel Yañez, thank you. Regards to safety, as soon as it happened, I reached out to different school districts, and one district in particular that, you know, Central, they have the system in place that actually alerts all the teachers. There was something mentioned about rumors floating out, and that's one of the things that I think the school needs to look into also as well, reach out to their districts. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to them and finding out what they're doing, what they have in place. Maybe we could improve it, make something a little bit better. Security is always good. I know right now with the city, with the police officers being shorthanded and stuff like that, we have to look at different avenues. Maybe reach out to the sheriffs or something like that. Bring, at least try to do something. Just think outside of the box. Other than that, I just want to thank teachers for Teachers Week. Also, the mothers, happy Mother's Day. It's coming up. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Trustee Alvarado. Well, good evening, everyone. I also want to wish all the mothers happy Mother's Day. Also, the teachers for their week and their administrators. And in regards to safety, I think since I've been sitting here, I've been preaching the safety, and it's unfortunate. However, I can assure the community that our district is doing everything possible to maintain safety in our schools, maintain our staff, and our students safe. Of course, I'd like to also thank Ms. Ambriz for taking the initiative of communicating and disseminating as much information as she could by the law as permitted. So, again, thank you for getting that information. And again, we have safety plans out there. It doesn't hurt to drill and ensure that those plans are working for each site. So again, we have taken all your considerations tonight, and we'll sit back. And again, this is one of the main priority for us now, to ensure that safety is up the utmost. Thank you. We move on to K5. Oh, where are we at? Yeah, K5. Accounts payable pre-list for April 2017. Trustees, do we have any questions? None? Okay. K6, projected enrollment for Cesar Chavez Elementary and Enrique Camarena Junior High School for years 2017-18 school years.
Okay, so for the past 2 years since I've been here, one of the things that we constantly monitor is the enrollment at both of these sites. As you know, this is the side of town that is growing, and the facilities have been highly impacted at these two sites. So what I wanted to share with you is just our projected enrollment for both of these sites. We're actually working with the projected enrollment for all sites. But these two sites in particular, because for the past 2 years, we've closed enrollment for inter-district and intra-district petitions. So what this means is that only students who reside in the boundaries of the school are being enrolled. If you reside in the Rockwood area and you want a petition to go to Cesar Chavez, well, we're not approving that right now because we give priorities for students who reside in the area. Same thing for Enrique Camarena. And inters is when they are petitioning to come from another district. And so right now, all of our petitions, the majority at the elementary level go to Blanche Charles, and at the secondary, they go to Willie Moreno. And so what I wanted to share with you is just, this is Enrique Camarena. So we shared the enrollment for the past, 5 years of their feeder schools. So over the time, and we put the average on the site, but dual's average over time has been about 90 students that enter to Enrique Camarena. Jefferson, it fluctuates, but over time it's been 105. And then Cesar Chavez going to Enrique Camarena, 171. And so if you look at the total of enrollment going into Enrique Camarena, it's fluctuated from 376, went up to 422, down to 350, 321, 359. So the average is about 366, okay? So for 16-17, our projection is 359. Over the past 2 years, the enrollment at Enrique Camarena has been 679 this past year, and we are projecting 684. So what we're saying with this data is that we will be closing again Enrique Camarena's enrollment so that only students who reside in that area can enroll, okay? Any questions on Enrique Camarena? Okay, so next one is Cesar Chavez. for Cesar Chavez, what we did is we actually looked at the current students from the previous grade level going into the next grade level, and then in this column you see overloads. What this means is there were students at other that belonged to Cesar Chavez that for whatever reason there was no more room, so they ended up going to different elementaries around the district. So this year or next year they go back to Cesar Chavez and they're giving priority over new enrollees. In this column, we calculated the total. This is students we have, plus those who are returning. And then we took a ratio divided by the class size. So for your first, second, and third, our class size is 24. And then for 4 through 6, class size is 33. So based on those ratios, we projected how many teachers we're going to need. And in the next column, we tell you what the class average would be, not including any new enrollees. So if we have first grade right now, we have an average of about 22 students in a class. Between these 5 classes, we only have 12 slots available for any new student who wants to enroll at Cesar Chavez that lives within the boundaries. If we look at second grade, we're almost there at 24, which is the ratio for, or the class size for second grade. So we only have 1 more slot, which means that if we were to get 5 new students, 4 of them would probably have to be put as overloads at a different site. And then you can see the same for the rest of the numbers. So based on the amount of slots that we have available, we're also projecting or wanting to inform the board that we're also closing Cesar Chavez so that only students who reside in this area will be able to enroll at Cesar Chavez. So for this upcoming year, we will continue to have both Cesar and Enrique Camarena enrollment only for students who reside in the boundaries. Okay, questions?
So if they're already an intern at this school site, will they remain next year?
For the past, yeah, for the past 3 years, we haven't accepted. So we still have interest in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade because we're fading out, but we shouldn't be having any more. No. Not necessarily. In the intra application, it says that based on enrollment, if we have a 4th grader that resides in the area, then we give preference to the student who resides in the area. Okay.
So what will the process be then? Then at this point, you're sending letters or notifying parents of those students that don't live in the area, but that are over there already. So you're letting the parents know that those students will be on a waiting list.
When they do the intra or inter form, there's a statement says there that this is temporarily based on enrollment, so they are aware. So what we do is, for example, last year our 6th graders, we had about 6 students that were from another school, and based on the first day of enrollment, we did tell the parents, look, if we have students who reside in the area on the first day of school, then they have preference. So we will be calling you and letting you know that you're going to have to go to your school of residence. So they are aware. We tell them ahead of time. Fortunately, for that grade, some students didn't return to Cesar Chavez, so we were able to keep the 6th grader. And our concern is the 6th graders because they've been through the school the entire years, and so we want them to graduate with their class. Yeah. But we haven't had the case. What we have had is last year, for example, we had 15 kindergartners that we had to send bus to another school and told the parents, you're temporarily going to be in this school because there's no more space for students. So that's really the grade that we cannot project. So if you notice on the first column, we have here kindergarten. We currently have 4 teachers there, but we haven't projected there. When I spoke to Mr. Santos or any of the other principals, they tell me so far, maybe we have 2 classes of kinders who have registered, but we actually have 4 spaces. Currently, all our kinders are maximized. Every class is at 24. Some of our classes are at 26, but because due to grade span adjustment, in our first grade, maybe our classes were at 20. So therefore, we can increase the numbers in kinder and we still meet the 24 average. So kinder is greatly impacted, and it's one of those that we're constantly monitoring, calling the principals. When you hit your maximum of 4 classes, let us know, because right now if there's a need to include another kinder, we need to see if there's space in the space or classrooms available in the different sites. So we're going to continue to look closely at numbers. Okay. Questions? Thank you.
Just one question.
Yes.
We are informing the parents, correct? Continuously.
Yes.
Letting them know that.
In fact, when they do the interest, they do it electronically. And when they go into the system, Cesar Chavez and Enrique Camarena are not options, so they can't go in there. So nobody has the option of submitting an application. So if I go in and I reside in the Rockwood area and I want Cesar Chavez, it's not even an option. We blocked it for the same reason, because we know there's no space. And for
Thank you.
and for the interest, they know that we decide where they go. They don't request a school. They just want Calexico Unified.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. We move on to L, discussion, possible action. L1, Verizon wireless antenna installation on possible new light poles at Calexico High School.
Good evening, trustees. This item was brought to the board for some discussion and direction. The district was approached by Verizon Wireless to place an antenna for service on one of our football lighting poles. And Verizon is proposing to purchase a light pole on our field to put their antenna on. So it's here as an agenda item, and they want to lease the pole or the antenna, and they want to, and they proposed about $1,500 a month for a initial 5-year term, but for over a 30-year period is what they're interested in doing. So we wanted to bring this to the board for direction as far as if the board was interested in allowing Verizon to purchase a light pole, and we're kind of still negotiating, or we want to further negotiate to see if they would consider 2 light poles versus the 1 light pole, and to support the lighting project at the football field. So this is here for just direction as to if this is something that the board would be interested in, and give us some negotiation or room to negotiate as best as we can with Verizon for an additional pole.
Well, I would rather have 2 than 1.
Me too.
Yeah, or 3 or whatever. So if you're negotiating, then why are we taking an action? I'd like to see how much more we can get from Verizon. I mean, they're here to stay, correct?
Yes, as far as I know. Yeah, and this would be an initial 5-year lease, but they're agreeing
For
to pay
20,
over 30 years for the $1,500 a month. So it's just, we wanted to make sure that this is something that we could move forward with as far as allowing Verizon to put an antenna on top of a light pole.
So they're negotiating, and they've only committed to 1
They
pole.
have committed to 1 pole.
All right. Well, I'd like to see if we can get a few more. So
I'll do my
that
best.
would be mine.
So you want a motion, right?
Yes, if the board could motion to give us direction to, that it's okay for us to move forward in this direction with the antenna on our light pole that they're going to buy, but see if we can't get additional light poles.
Do we have any other antennas in the district?
So we do, and that's on a future item. We're going to, I guess I should say. T-Mobile has also approached the district, and I believe they're going to be on is it the baseball field? On the baseball field lighting. So they're going to purchase 2 light poles for the baseball field, and they're going to put 1 or 2 antennas on the lights on the baseball field. So we have been approached by Verizon and T-Mobile.
Do we know if any other districts have antennas on their properties, on their school sites?
I'm not aware.
No.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Any concerns with wireless antennas on the school site?
Jeremy?
Good evening. I'm not sure of any other school district here in the valley, but I do know that it's quite common in San Diego and those districts over there. They do quite often have cellular antennas on their campuses. Typically, they come in the form of the fake trees that you see, or T-Mobile was telling me that they did do a few light masts on some of the athletic fields over in San Diego. So it's something that DSA works with these cellular companies with. So there's a design for that, for these light poles that DSA approves. So it's common.
Any health risk or hazards for our students?
I,
and
I,
staff?
I asked that question, and they told me that I was crazy. That there is no proof that this causes anybody to glow in the dark or anything like that. So, their words to me were that they're 100% safe. You know, our light poles are going to be 75 feet in the air, so that's quite a bit taller than what we have now.
And plus, DSA still has to approve it, right?
Correct. Yeah. If there was an issue with these, DSA would not let you put them on a campus.
Okay.
So.
Will our infrastructure sustain these towers, or are we going to have to revamp our?
No,
Or
we're
boxes.
going to have to redesign the poles. The new poles are going to have to go in because the poles that we have currently won't allow the wind loads and stuff with the additional antennas on it. So they are going to have to come out and new light poles put in.
Well, I'm talking about the box we have right there on the north goal pole. Is that going to sustain the whole, that electrical box that's right in the middle of the field?
Oh, yeah, that's coming out, and we're going to be talking about that on further on down the agenda. The M12. So that's part of that
cost.
project. Yes.
It's part of, it's all connected.
Yes.
And we're paying for the removal of that box?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I move that we
Trustees?
pursue this contract with Verizon and look into it and see if there would be two, not just one.
So you hear your motion?
That's my
Your
motion.
motion.
I'll second that.
Romero motions, second by Alvarado. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item approved by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, Alvarado, and Calderon Jr. L2, account payable pre-list brought back as an action item. Yeah. Who wants to? You want to?
Well, I brought this item back because in the past, or in past years, we had the pre-list for approval. As I have mentioned before to this board and previous boards, we are fiscally responsible. So all these expenses that you see here, that now we don't have to approve. They are these expenses that just go and they pay for them, and this is just for us to see. So some of them are nice, $744, $140, but then we have big items, large amounts of money. I'm not saying that something is happening here. I'm not even going that route. What I'm saying is we are responsible for the fiscal solvency of this district. So I think as a board, we need to make sure that we know what is it that we are being or that we're paying. That's my whole point. Okay, I mean, they're gonna say that we're gonna be late with payments and things like that. We have board meetings every 2 weeks, so this gets approved, or a bill comes over anytime we're doing between those 2 weeks. The next board meeting, those bills will be approved. So we have meetings every 2 weeks. So I think it's going to be a good idea. I think it will be put more responsibility on us. As we will know what is it that we're paying. We will know what is it that we're spending the taxpayers' money. So I don't think we're gonna do any harm by doing this again. We did it, and when I first came in 2012, we did it. So
How many years were you doing this as far as having the pre-list and the reviewing it?
at least two. Then we did away with it 2014, middle of 2013, 2014. I have tried to bring it back, but
Well, I have to somewhat agree with you. Stewards of public funds, you see the list, and sometimes you question as to where this money's going. So I have to agree in a sense that we are responsible for the funds that this district spends and so forth. So I'd like to make a motion to put it back on as an action item
Yes.
and
For us to approve,
for board to approve it.
for the board to approve, yes. And I will second that motion.
All those in favor?
Now, just,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to fill this out. I just want the board to be aware of what this is gonna do if an HVAC system goes down in our schools. Okay, that's gonna, take away my ability to go and replace an HVAC unit ASAP. You know, 2 days is the typical turnaround when an HVAC goes out, but now we're talking 2 weeks. And HVACs don't seem to go out in December. They go out in July, August, and September. So I just want to bring that to your attention that if I have to wait 2 weeks or possibly 4 weeks to replace an HVAC unit.
Again, Maria, in those cases, we have given direction to Maria, and it is up to you, the board president, to talk to Maria about that.
Well, she has a
And-
limit of $200,000, correct?
Yes, and in those instances where Maria can actually make those decisions. So, and actually, that's what you and Maria, you can work that out, and you guys can decide on how to work those things. So there was a motion on the floor and a
Do we
second.
have, do you,
Let me make a
all right,
comment as well.
go ahead.
Can I comment?
Hi,
Hi, Ms. Hanson.
Joan Hanson, principal at Dole. As principals and the administrators, we have a process of what we need to do to get approval, and it's a process many times. We need to make sure that the company has their W-9 form. We need to make sure that they're on the list, that they have certain documentation. Then we need to make sure that we're using the funds correctly. You know, if we're using Title I funds, we need a proposal, perhaps at times. Ms. Montaño checks that we're using the money correctly. LCAP, we talked to Ms. Ramirez, and it's a process. And then to submit it, and then to have, for instance, the requisitions processed through with budget revisions, it already takes time, and we're already many times rushing to make sure that things get done in a timely manner so that we use the products in the classroom that year. So just so you know, for us, it would make it difficult when we want to have something and we want to use it, to wait first for the board approval for it to be on the list, then to request it on the proposal and have the budget revisions, and then be able to process it, and then wait for the shipment to come. So just so you know, it might make our process a little tougher.
How much longer, Ms. Hanson?
Until the next board meeting. So for instance, there's times
weeks?
when, well,
Need to
no.
order it, yeah.
Because for instance, let's say in December, because we need to submit things to the board a week and a half or something before your board meeting. And there are times, for instance, in December that you don't have your board meeting until later in January. My intramural sports, for instance, I had a proposal finished in the beginning of December. I didn't get it approved until the end of January. And it was done. But I didn't make the deadline of submitting it to the board before your board meeting, so I had to wait to the January meeting. And so we already a lot of times need to make sure that we're pre-planning, that we're really staying on top of things. And even with staying on top of it, it does make it so that the students aren't able to access the materials we want to give them that school year more quickly because we're waiting. So just so you know, it would make it hard for us sometimes. We do make sure that they have.
Sometimes or all the time?
When if they're not on the pre-approved list, then difficult, it would make it difficult. But we do make sure that they have the W-9 form. For instance, if they don't have that form, we cannot process it. We're not allowed to request a requisition and a purchase order.
you know, it'd be good if you could not put all the expenditures in the same bucket. Any expenditures under $50,000 or $30,000 can be processed immediately. There's got to be exceptions to expedite the process. There has to be.
So would you like a protocol or sort of?
I'm also in agreement with what Mr. Romero said, because I think we're just to prolong this whole process, and we're going to be taken away from what you guys are doing.
I think we could
Thank you.
try, anything under 30,000 can be processed immediately. I mean, the way that it currently is. But this should be on a trial basis. If it doesn't work, if it's handcuffing the administrators in processing payments, then I want to revisit this. But we gotta be open to change.
That's my comment. So
Yeah, go ahead.
I agree. Now, I think something like this would handcuff, slow down the process. It already takes a long time as it is to get POs through off people's desks, inputted and POs submitted and created, or checks. Again, I think as a board, we've already approved a lot of these expenditures, or in our school site plans, in your Title I plans, your migrant plans. We've already approved it and given direction to use those funds as outlined. I just don't want to be able to slow down the process, especially, I understand there's timelines at the sites and things happening that make it very difficult to get things through quickly. I wouldn't want to handicap what's happening in the classroom, the instructional support for our kids and our staff.
Of course, anything that would affect the kids.
My point
that
is, we've
would
already
be
approved a
against
lot
it.
of these.
Okay. So would you entertain putting an amount on it?
Yes, I think anything under 20,000, unless, because 30,000 could be kind of high, depending what you're looking at. And exclude anything that, media and travel expenditures. I think that you want to look at those things maybe.
Yeah.
So any material supplies under $20,000 should be allowed to proceed as normal. Unless if you want to increase it to 30,000, that's up to you, but I'll be happy with 20,000.
Individual item of that amount?
Yes. If you want to lower it, I'll consider that.
I've seen, I think the average is like 20,000.
Okay. So you want to go
25?
15, 25? Okay.
25.
25 and exclude travel. Travel would have to come.
Yeah,
be
because
approved
teachers have
beforehand.
to go, and administrators
Yeah,
have to make plans for their travels and so forth.
exactly.
Okay.
But on a trial basis for at least 3 months. If it doesn't work, it'd be
Okay.
revisited.
So you
I
We
make
motion,
that- I
you
make that
motion?
I'm wondering, just before we vote,
Okay,
how would
go
that
ahead.
impact some departments like M&O facilities? Does that handicap them with that cap? And I'm saying a yes for emergencies.
I think
We
we should
should-
just discuss this
Later.
Later on.
Yeah.
I think right now it's just the way it was brought up and stuff like that. I think we
Yeah.
should just discuss it, table it, bring it back.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Do you want to table it then?
For our next meeting? We got a meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion and motion that we should table this item.
Okay.
Or just
Second.
discuss a little bit more.
Okay. Motion by Romero to table this item. Who seconds it?
A second.
Second by Castillo. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, Alvarado, and Calderon Jr. L3, resolution of Measure V, Citizens Oversight Committee requesting the first insurance of the general obligation, Bond Series A, to classroom needs at CHS. And this is where we want to speak, correct? Mr. Ben Horton.
Trustees, I'm the Vice Chair of the Oversight Committee. What you have before you is to reaffirm what we talked about. We were running the campaign for Measure V. I sat here today and heard some things that I find very positive about the teachers, about the installation. The high school is slowly growing out of service unless you revamp it and bring it up to the point where it can take new students. You're already making, I would say, requirements for one of your elementaries and junior highs. The high school is in badly need of revamping. You have these temporary classrooms. What I'm saying is the first group of money to be used for the high school, that was one of the points that we stressed when we were running the campaign for Measure V. And the majority of the people thought that was great because we know the high school. I'm the class of 1970. The high school I walked through there a couple of weeks ago to see what it was like. It has changed, not for the better, to the point where our students are getting to experience more of a negative experience than a positive. By adopting this resolution, you're going to reaffirm what the community wants and what I feel that this committee, these trustees want the best for our kids and the safety of our kids. I hope that you will consider this and vote yes on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horton. Ms. Mai, you were going to come up?
So this resolution was developed by the Measure V Citizens Oversight Committee. And basically, the resolution that is being proposed here for this board to approve basically states that the first issuance of the Measure V funding would go specifically to Calexico High School for improvements, to be used alongside with any state funding that we might get as a result of Prop 51. So that's really in a nutshell what this resolution states. And the Measure V committee asked that this be put on the agenda for the board to consider and possibly adopt.
Thank you. Trustees, do you have any questions?
Even though we've talked about that the high school be the first priority, but do you want a binding resolution that would tie your hands to that?
You want my personal opinion?
Anybody's opinion.
Having gone to that school, this school is in dire need. It should be the first school that we attend that needs to. And everyone that's talked today has at least mentioned that we do have issues, and we do.
Okay, that's the direction. I move that we adopt the resolution.
Keep in mind that not all the funds can be for the high school because with the law permitting, I mean, we can redirect some funds, but not all of them because they're actually for certain projects. But I think personally that we should focus on the high school.
And I will second that motion.
So that would be my motion to adopt this resolution. And
He-
second,
made the motion.
You motion? I'm sorry. All right, well, got a little ahead of myself. All right, motion by Romero, second by Calderon. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, or resolution approved by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, Alvarado, and Calderon Jr. The board's going to take a 5-minute break, so.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on to item M on the agenda. Action items, consideration action approval of the following items. M1, approval of security patrol service option for Calexico Unified School District. Oh, public comment? Public comment, yes. Sonia Rendon.
Good evening, Sonia Redona, CSCA. On the security company, in September, I met with Randall, and we said that this item was negotiable, but we never went and met again to see how to work out some plan. So I would like for you to table this item until she sits down with my labor rep and try to negotiate something. It's a negotiated, this is contracting out. I went in her office on September when you gave the directions to meet with me. And she said, we looked at the plan, took 5 minutes. And then she said, well, it's a negotiable item. We'll get back to it. We never did. So I would consider if you can please table it for next meeting till she meets with our negotiator in this item. And we're paying a lot of money for this security. We have the golf courts at the school sites. We don't need purchased golf courts. We have trucks at the high school that can be used at night. You don't need to purchase all that stuff that's on the item. So I would like if you consider tabling it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I move to table this item for the next meeting. Oh, hold on. Sorry. I retract my motion. There's a presentation.
Good evening, trustees. This item is before the board at the request of the board. As Ms. Redona did mention, we did meet at the direction of the board to try to devise a plan for security patrol. It was a little bit more in depth than what was alluded to. So we did meet. The conversation was that we would, or the recommendation from CSEA was that we would employ part-time employees at 3 hours to 3.5 hour shifts in the evening, in addition to have the custodians act as security guards until 10 p.m. or till a later shift when there was no students on campus. So I did take her recommendations, and I did present them back to the board back in September of 2016. And at that time, the board agreed to continue with the security services agreement of the contracted service, because what it is this, it was an extension of the current contract with ASPS. So why it's here today is because the contract is going to expire on June 30th. So the board wanted to be presented or revisit this item at this time since the contract is expiring on June 30th. So before you, there are the options. The options, and it kind of gives a little information as to the current coverage that we have at the school sites, in addition to a renewing, so a change to the current contract. Currently, there are 7 security guards that are roaming our schools, and that was, again, at the request of the board, because of at a certain or a particular point, or the previous board or the board, we had an issue with a lot of break-ins and a lot of vandalism to our sites. So the board increased the amount of patrol in addition to the pool that we have, and they wanted to have 24-hour or at least overnight surveillance of that pool area, because it is a liability and a safety hazard if someone were to jump the fence and then get in our pool, and there would be, if there was something negative to happen at that point, the district is liable. So at the request of the board, we did increase the services to the district. So in a method to cut costs, we approached the current company, which is ASPS, and asked them to provide us with some other options. So that is what you see as option number 1. And again, this option was presented to the board back in September as well, that they would cut the services down to 3 patrol officers and provide the district with an alarm or a type of a system that was kind of with sensors and just a lot of equipment to support security at our school sites. Option number 2 would be to still have contracted out security services and go out to bid for security services, and or option number 3, which was what I had presented the information to the board in September of 22nd of 2016, which was the meeting that I did have with Ms. Redona at the request of the board, what her recommendations were, and the board opted to continue on with the contract as was with ASPS. So today this item is here for direction. Again, the contract expires, and my recommendation is that we approve as an addendum to the current agreement for 2 years at option number 1, which is to significantly reduce the monthly cost for security services, and also have the district gain equipment, which would assist and aid in that in savings for the district. So that's why it's here on the agenda, and that's my recommendation. We went out to bid, let's see, it looks like in 2000, I'd like to say in the 13-14 year, so in 2014. Let's see, yes, June 5th of 2014, I believe.
Okay, I recommend we go out for bid and see what's out there.
And
But
that is option number 2.
Yeah, option number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your motion, Mr. Romero?
That's my motion.
I will second that, but with discussion.
You got a motion by Mr. Romero, second by Calderon, but with the discussion.
So if we go, okay, so if we go for number 2, out to bid,
Okay.
will we be violating CSEA's contract?
No. Because we're currently, well, we've already gone out to bid, and we're currently employing an outside vendor to perform this service. So my answer to that is no.
That's the end of the discussion.
I think quite possibly where the confusion may have come in as it being a negotiable item was if we employ staff. If we employ our own staff, like what the recommendation was with the 3 hours or the 3.5 hours, well,
and
that's
the
when it becomes a
vehicles and things.
or
Oh,
just the
okay,
staff
okay.
would be the negotiable
Oh,
piece,
okay.
not the outside vendor service. It would be when if we were going to employ staff, the positions we would bring on, and
Okay,
so that's
all
when it would become a negotiable item.
So all those in favor?
Well,
There was a,
for
there
number
was a
2?
motion
The motion is to
Was,
go option 2,
for 2. It was
which,
seconded by,
about to bid.
correct, and it was seconded by Calderon.
Okay,
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. 3 in favor. It's Romero, Calderon, Alvarado. 1 no, Castillo. Moving on to M2. It's an agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Avid for college readiness for EL learners, years 2017-18 for Enrique Camarena and William Moreno Junior High Schools.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We got a first by Calderon, second by Romero. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, myself, Alvarado. Moving on to M3, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and University of Redlands for 2017-2019 fieldwork experience. Any discussion?
Motion
More
with,
information?
So what this is it's an agreement, and this is a renewal that we had with the University of Redlands. And this is for the purpose of providing early field experience, both to teachers or for counselors, administrators, or psychologists.
and this is the $100 is pretty standard, right?
Oh, that is correct, yes.
Yeah, that's pretty standard, okay.
Yeah.
I'll move to approve, or did you move, Mike? Or,
I'll second.
Huh?
I'll second. There was no,
okay, I'll move to
so
approve.
motion by Calderon, second by myself, Alvarado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself, Alvarado. Moving on to M4, agreement with Global CTI and Calexico Unified School District for maintenance of the ShoreTel phone system.
So the current contract for maintenance services for the phone system expires on June 30th, 2017. There were quotes from at least 3 vendors that were requested and evaluated. Global CTI provided the quote with the lowest cost, and they currently provide maintenance of CUSD ShoreTel phone system. So there's a recommendation to have them approve to provide the maintenance of the ShoreTel phone system.
Okay, I move that we enter the agreement with the Global CTI.
And I'll second that. Motion by Romero, second by myself, Alvarado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself, Alvarado. Moving on to M5, agreement between Calexico Unified School District and Adams Educational Consulting to provide training to Our Lady of Guadalupe staff on August 21st, 2017 on best instructional practices for EL literacy, engagement, and comprehension.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Calderon, second by Romero. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself, Alvarado. Moving on to M6, service agreement between Calexico Unified School District and School Health Corporation for automated external defibrillators, AEDs.
So there's a recommendation to have the board approve a renewal of the service agreement with the School Health Corporation of the 16 automated external defibrillators that we have at the different campuses.
I move that we approve.
I'll second that. Motion by Romero, second by Alvarado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself, Alvarado. Moving on to M7, agreement between CUSD and San Diego Fire Rescue Department for program management for automatic external defibrillator, public access defibrillation program, San Diego Project Heartbeat.
I move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Calderon, second by Romero. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, myself, Alvarado. Moving on to M8, proposed agreement for Medic First to conduct CPR first aid AED training for staff members between July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018.
And with this, we're just saying 300 just to give a number. But
That's correct.
if we have more staff that wants to be trained, of course, we're not going to deny the
Absolutely.
opportunity for training,
Right,
right?
so if we get to the 300, then we would come back and
Okay.
bring
So
another.
this is just to throw in a number. Well, not a throw in a number, but to have an idea of how many, right? Okay, I'll move to approve.
Motion by Calderon, second by Castillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, myself, Alvarado. Moving on to M9, proposed agreement from Medic First to provide lifeguard and basic water rescue certification between May 15, 2017 to March 31st, 2020.
So similar like the first aid CPR, this is for the basic water rescue certification.
I move we approve.
I'll second that.
Question now, so we were talking about 40 participants, who are the participants?
I believe there are district employees or, for example, students that would need to be certified for the purpose of lifeguarding.
So these are students or individuals that that would be employed
Correct,
for lifeguarding.
correct.
So, I guess my question, so we're covering the WSI for them. Why? Why, are they our employees in the summer? Lifeguards are district employees?
They're not district employees. They are students that may apply during the summer that need certification. And so in order for us to be able to have certified lifeguards for the pool, then we want to make sure that we offer the training in the event that we need to offer the
For
training.
their work training, basically.
Motion by Romero, second by myself, Alvarado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, myself. Moving on to M10, revised agreement between Claremont Graduate University and Calexico Unified School District for 2017-2020 fieldwork experience and service learning opportunities.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Calderon, second by Romero. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself, Alvarado. Moving on to M11, service agreement between the Calexico Unified School District and ALAS Media for professional development services.
So what we're requesting for approval here is for a 2-hour workshop for celebrating the power of creativity. This will be delivered by a keynote speaker. And so what we would like to do is provide this training for our teachers during the Back to School District Professional Development Day.
Professional development.
Correct.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Calderon, second by Romero. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Yes is by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself. Moving on to M12, awarding of RFQ RFP number 2017-01 Calexico High School sports field lighting and site improvements. Question that I had for that is, where is this money coming out for?
That's a great question. So on the agenda, you can see that there's several funding sources here that are all to be determined. So when we put this item on the agenda, T-Mobile had, again, approached the district and wanted to put these lights on our baseball field. So in order to kind of find out, well, okay, that's great. Well, how much does the light cost on the baseball field? We did get permission from the board to go out and bid it out and to see, what it is. So we did that, and that's what's being brought here today. But in all of that, we received, I think on Monday of this week, an award letter from OPSC stating that they approved another one of our ERP applications, which is an emergency repair program. So how it ended up working out is that the district is going to receive 1.3 million additional dollars for a project. Well, we couldn't find the project, so we had to, by the time the board item posted, so we had to contact OPSC and get a copy of this agreement because this was written way back in 2008, I believe. So as a result of that, it just so happens that that application is for lighting at the high school. And specifically, it's right at $1.2 million, $1,199,542. So it's right at $1.2 million, which is going to go specifically for the lighting at the high school. So that was a complete score in that regard. In addition to the ERP funds, we know that Verizon has committed to one light pole. And so this bid is kind of a multi-tiered bid here, one for the baseball field in addition to the football field. And which is why all of these items for these things kind of go together. So initially, it was going to come, or it was going to have to be approved from the board to be funded out of the general fund, or since this is a high school expenditure, then, we have the flexibility, Measure V. But we've since been given kind of a large sum of money here by ERP, which is designated for lighting. So that really worked out on behalf of the district. So ERP funds, instead of it being TBD, it is right at $1.1 million. And there are some associated fees that we have to pay the consultant, since we did receive the funds that wrote the grant for these funds. So there's some variation there. We're still going to negotiate with Verizon to see what else we can get from them, if we can get for them to fund another pole, so that minimizes the cost that the district will have to pay. T-Mobile, we know that they're going to pay for 2 lights on the baseball field. And then whatever the difference is would have to be made up from the general fund. And it could be written into the LCAP for next year, because I'm assuming that we're not going to be able to get all this done before June 30th. But that could be a consideration for facilities to be written into the LCAP, whatever the difference is for next year.
I'm assuming the lights are needed, right?
That is correct, yes.
There's no lights at the baseball field.
Okay, and we want to improve the high school, and we have a grant that's coming through. I move that we award the bid to Oakview Construction for the lights.
There are 2 items, and just for the record, there are 2 on there. One for Oakview for the baseball lights, and one to Cora Construction for.
Okay, and now then I amend my motion to add Cora Construction.
Oh, okay. Well, Jimmy, the architect, is here and can just mention that if you would. Thank you.
If you add up the base bid plus alternate add 1 and 2 for Oakview, it's less money than if you go with alternate add 1 and 2, the base bid plus alternate add 1 and 2 with Core Constructors.
So Oakview's coming in at how much?
Well, if you're going to award alternate add 1 and 2, we need if you add all those up, it's less with Oakview than it is for Core Constructors.
So if we so what you're saying is if we give Oakview all of the work,
Entire lights.
then it will reduce the cost of the total project. Am I, okay, all right.
Okay.
And what does it have at the end? It says not to exceed 18%. That says permit fees, engineering fees, testing and inspection fees, not to exceed 18% of this contract. So meaning is that?
So what it says is, in addition to what we're going to award Oakview, there are other costs associated with that we have to pay DSA, we have to pay the inspector, we have to pay the architect, we have to pay for permit fees, for engineering fees, and those are all associated costs that come along with the project. What we're awarding is the construction company the bid to do the work. So
But
there
all-
are all of those associated fees that go along with that.
Oakview's coming in at total estimated base bid cost is 1.5 million, correct? Cora Construction is coming in at alternate add two at a little bit under 800,000.
That's for the football sports field.
Correct.
Right.
And then if you look up on top, where's
Right.
where's one? Total for number one comes out to
So 1.4.
356.
And then 286.
That's less than what Oakview is proposing. Correct? Am I correct or am I off?
At the bid openings, we had, for base bid one, which includes the baseball field lighting, the removal of the restrooms at Ward Field, and the upgrade of the electrical, which is removing that leaning tower over there, and upgrading our electrical service. The lowest responsive bidder for base bid one was Oakview Construction at $1,274,000.
Okay.
The alternate add one is to place lights at the high school softball field as well. The alternate add two is the football lights, which
It's 675.
which was $675 from Cora Constructors and $684 from Oakview Construction.
But combined,
You want to know what the combined?
Yeah, I want to know what the
Yeah,
total
but
combined
combined,
because
I don't have
it's not making.
Yeah.
one more.
Everybody got their calculators.
Yeah. Which one are, yeah, this one, these two. And 684. I don't have a, can I borrow your pen, Mr. Romero?
So- Okay, so Oakview would come in at $1,000,000.
1,958,000, and that's for the baseball field and the football field.
Yes.
Okay, so Cora Construction for both would be $2,095,000. But because of the funding, that's why we broke it up separately, because we didn't know that if the board was interested in moving forward with the football lights.
Until when do we have to decide on this? Because I just want to see I feel a lot safer seeing the numbers and stuff like that. Because I mean, these numbers are all.
That's 700,000 more if we go, that will have to come out of somewhere. And I doubt it that Verizon is going to give us $700,000.
Well,
For the
remember,
light
we're also working with T-Mobile as well.
Right, so T-Mobile's
Yeah,
paying for
but,
two
But at
lights
this
too.
point, I've only heard Verizon. So, but I mean, and that's okay that we're working with them, but there's nothing definite yet. And up in the air, we have, if we just go with the baseball field, yeah, that's paid for. But if we do the football field or the other fields, that adds $700,000.
Would we be safe just tabling it till
And we
our
can,
next?
we can outline I can
Correct.
put the numbers together, that's fine.
Please,
Yes,
that,
we
that
can do
that's just what I want
Yeah.
to see. That way we can make a more.
That's
Anything
fine,
on-
okay.
decision.
Would you have something in concrete from Verizon and everybody else?
Well, we do have
What
something
would
concrete.
you have at that point?
Well, we
for the
have
next
for
one?
one light from Verizon, we know we have that, and we have two lights from T-Mobile. We know we have that,
And each light pole is 168,000.
right?
Okay, so can you put it in writing?
Yeah, so I can put a little
More or
spreadsheet
less.
together.
Yeah.
Well, there
and,
was there was a motion. Are you guys all right with?
Tabling?
Yeah,
Table
I'll
that?
remove my motion.
Yeah, so, yeah, we'll bring it back on the May 26th meeting.
Perfect.
I'll
Thank
table
you.
it. I move that we table this issue.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna go on the table. Motion to table by Romero, second by Calderon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself. Moving on to item M13. Memorandum of Understanding between Calexico Unified School District and University of Redlands for internship program for 2017 through 2019.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Calderon, second by Romero. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself. Moving on to item N14, Memorandum of Understanding between Calexico Unified School District and Imperial County Office of Education for professional development for prime candidates.
So this is an MOU that establishes an agreement between ICOE and Calexico Unified School District. Upon signature, it entitles 29 participating teachers to receive up to a $3,000 stipend upon completion of specified staff development that focus on mathematics. And so we're requesting or recommending that the board approve the MOU between ICOE and COSD for the professional development for the prime candidates.
How do you select those 29 candidates?
And I will refer to.
They apply?
Oh, they apply.
They apply? Okay.
So moved.
I'll second that. Motion by Romero, second by myself, Alvarado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself. Moving on to item M15, Memorandum of Understanding between Calexico Unified School District and ICOE for support service Department of Nursing LVN services provided to CUSD students enrolled at Imperial Valley Center for Exceptional Children for years 2016 to 2017.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Calderon, second by Romero. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, myself. Moving on to M16, Memorandum of Understanding between Calexico Unified School District and IVROP for core career technical educational CTE support services.
So there's a recommendation for the board to approve the MOU between CUSD and IVROP for the core career technical education support services.
Do you, is it still that clause that says that we can pull out with 30 days in notice?
I believe so, but I'll refer to Ms. Ramirez.
Yes, it's by January.
What?
The 30th of January, any year. So
Yeah.
it's still there.
As long as, okay, 30 of January.
Yeah, I think the deadline was 30th. Let me just check the clause, but it's there.
Oh, okay, yes.
So, where is it? Number 3 is MOU may be terminated by written request to terminate received by IVRP by January 31st for termination of services, effective July 1st of the upcoming school year.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second by Castillo. So it's motion.
Discussion.
Yes.
The last time this was brought up, all the teachers that will participate in CTE were against it. So I can't support it.
All right.
I did meet with
So-
with Ms. Williams and Mr. Franco Nunez and Mr. Alex Jaime on it, and we reviewed what are some of the needs and that they think would improve the services. And so they did come up with a list of things that they wanted us to ensure that we speak to the IVROP. So we'll be sharing this information with them. And
Okay.
we did inform them that if for whatever reason they feel that this is still not working, that we can always
January
terminate.
31st,
We
we
can
could-
always terminate it.
Correct.
But now the question is where is that list of things of not demands but that list of requests? Thank you. Do you have that? Because it will be important for us, I think, to see that what kind of requests they're making and where we stand as a district.
I do have a list. So I took the notes and I did a bullet of all the information that they provided.
So there's are we done with discussion?
Yes.
Yeah. So motion by Alvarado, second by Castillo. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion did not pass, right? Motion did not pass. It was 2-2. Those in favor was Castillo and myself. Those against was Calderon and Romero. Moving on to M17, Amendment to Current Memorandum of Understanding between Calexico Unified School District and Imperial County Behavioral Health Services. Number of stipends to increase from 4 kindergarten teachers to 10 kindergarten teachers.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Calderon, second by Castillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself. Moving on to M18, approval of change orders to Calexico High School pool facility project.
Good evening, trustees. This item is before the board along with the next item, which is M19, the notice of completion. This item, when we hear the word change order, we automatically assume that it's increasing the price or the cost of a project. Well, I'm happy to report that we are $6,155 under budget for that pool project. So that's always a great change order going down. So I'm very happy to report that. And I don't know if you've all had an opportunity to tour our pool facility, but it is a beautiful facility. We received our last apportionment from the grant that was given to us by California Department of Parks and Recs. Many thanks to them and to Senator Ben Wesso for his efforts in moving that forward. So just wanted to share that information in addition to that the change orders that were the deepening or the depth increase of the pool at that time and the total cost of the total project inclusive of the depth change in the pool were still under the budget by $6,155. So change order is actually good in this instance. It did not increase the cost of what was agreed upon as the cost for this project.
So after this, is that it?
That's it. We're done. We're going to make our last payments to our retention payments to our vendors, which are on those bid packages 1 through 14. And we'll make the final payments, and we cannot do that until we process the notice of completion, which is the very next item. So the pool project will be complete and will be filed with the state, and that project will be complete.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second that. Motion by Calderon, second by Alvarado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself. Moving on to M20, approval of declaration of need for fully qualified educators for the 2017-2018 school
No,
year.
we're at 19.
Oh, correct. Sorry about that. Strike that. M19, notice of completion for Calexico High School pool facility project.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Calderon, second by Romero. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself. Now moving on to M20, approval of declaration of need for fully qualified educators for the 2017-2018 school year.
So every year we have to file with the State Commission on Teacher Credentialing, just declaration to see if we're going to have a need for the following year. And so the county requests this of us. So typically where we find ourselves with need is when it comes to special education and single subject, either it be science, mathematics, for example. So we put a total of 11 in anticipation, 1 at the elementary level, 5 for special education, and 5 for a single subject. And all these are controlled by the county. And the authorizations need to be authorized by the commission.
I'll second.
Motion by Castillo, second by Calderon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself. Moving on to M21, resolution proclaiming May 10, 2017 as Day of the Teacher. And we do have oral communication. Mr. James Taylor.
Good evening again. Can you hear me? Okay. So, it was Day of the Teacher yesterday. Teachers look forward to this day every year because we're recognized by the staff at the schools, we're recognized by the district. Our teachers tend to get things from people on these days. For instance, this week in my mailbox at school, I received a notebook, a little notebook with a paw print on it, and that was cool. And there have been other things that are delivered to teachers during this week, and it's awesome. And our teachers, UniServe, gave out bags like this to our teachers that say, "I'm not a teacher," which is kind of funny to say on Day of the Teacher, but I'm not a teacher, I'm but an awakener. And, we're used to getting things like this, and it's really nice. But we got the greatest gift this past week because it was, from what I've read, students who probably saved teachers' lives by making their principal aware of the things that they were reading regarding the plans some people had. I just want to recommend that the board and the district, you know, if the students are willing to be recognized and commended for that, to do something to point out that what they did, you know, probably really did save some teachers' lives, and also to recognize the administration, because that's the other thing that I read over and over, how quick they acted. So, you know, I just want to say, like, Day of the Teacher is awesome, but man, we really did get a wonderful gift from students.
Thank you. So,
I'll make a motion if it's on that item, a motion that we,
it's a resolution.
resolution, yeah.
It's a roll call, correct? I'll go ahead and second that. Motion by Castillo, second by Alvarado. It's going to be roll call. Romero,
Yes.
Calderon,
Yes.
Castillo, Alvarado, yes. Moving on to M22, resolution proclaiming May 21st through 27, 2017 as Classified School Employees Week.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Calderon, second by Romero. Roll call. Mr. Romero,
Aye.
Calderon,
Yes.
Castillo,
Yes.
Alvarado, yes. Moving on to 23, resolution regarding disposition of surplus asset, non-asset technology equipment at William Moreno.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Romero, second by Castillo. Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Calderon,
Yes.
Castillo, Alvarado, yes. Moving on to M24, resolution regarding disposition of surplus asset, non-asset office equipment at district office.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Romero, second by Alvarado. Mr. Romero,
Aye.
Calderon,
Yes.
Castillo, Alvarado, yes. Moving on to M25, resolutions regarding disposition of surplus asset, non-asset technology and furniture equipment at Cesar Chavez Elementary.
So moved.
I'll second that. Motion by Romero, second by Alvarado.
Yes.
Yes.
Calderon, Castillo, Alvarado, yes. Moving on to M26, certificated employment report. That's the only thing we need to report. The only addition was of Deborah Montoya to the new hire employment list. That was it. For position of Director of Special Education, Psychological and Health Services. I'll second.
With it then.
I'll go ahead and second that also with the addition of Ms. Montoya. Motion by Castillo, second by Alvarado. All those in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Moving on to M27, Classified Employment Report.
I move to approve.
Second.
So, motion by Calderon, second by Romero. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself. We don't need to go to item N. We don't need to reconvene to order closed session. O, reconvene to open session.
Q.
No announcements in closed session. Moving on to Q, adjournment. No motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Romero, second by myself, Alvarado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes by Romero, Calderon, Castillo, and myself. Have a good night. Have a good evening.
Yeah.